Hey everyone, hello, it's Christina, and today we have a system of equations question here. It's a word problem, everyone's favorite, but it has to deal with money, investing, so it might be a little bit interesting, right? But we're going to solve it out, and hopefully it's going to be fun along the way. So let's do this together, right? Okie dokie. All right, so we have an investor, right? An investor invests $23,000 into two bonds. Okay, so we got two investment accounts, we have two bonds, and the total they're investing is $23,000. Okay, so one bond is paying 4% in simple interest, and the other bond is paying 2% in simple interest, and the investor earns $710 annual interest. Okay. And now the question is, how much was invested in each account? Keep in mind that there was two total accounts. These bonds, they're saying bonds and then they're saying accounts. It's kind of like tomato, tomato, all right? So, with word problems, they're a little bit challenging for students because we're usually much better when we're given the formula, right? That's why a lot of students don't like word problems, because we have to find out the formulas first and then do the math. But it's just a little extra step, right? But we got it. We're going to read into this. We're going to find those formulas and we're going to solve it out. Now, the best piece of advice I could give is always shoot for your variables, right? Always label your variables. Put it out on paper just so that you have them. And then the question will become a little bit easier. Now, at the end of the day, this question is asking for how much was invested in each account, each bond. Okay, well, I don't know how much was invested in the bonds or the accounts. So those are my variables. Now, you could label it any letter, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, whatever. But in math, usually we go for lovely X, right? X marks the spot. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say X equals, let's see, maybe we'll say amount invested in, one account. They don't even say what the accounts were, and we'll just say that, this is representative of the bond. And now we have one bond done. That's going to be labeled as X. So whether they invested, $10,000, $5,000, the other one has to be another variable. Now, I can't say X again because if we said X for both of them, that means that it's an even split, 50-50. So half of the $23,000 was going in one account and half was going in the other. But I don't know that. They didn't mention that. So we can't label it X. We have to label it another letter. And usually if you say X, then comes Y. Why? I have no idea. But anyway, we're going to label it Y. And we're going to say that that is going to be the amount invested in the other account. So now we have the two accounts written down for. And just like they said, the account is the bond. Okay, now for making up formulas, right? The main trick here is that if you have two variables, which we have here, one X, one Y, the amount of variables always equals the amount of formulas you have to make. So in this case, we have two variables, which means that we got to come up with two equations or two formulas. Yay. But we got it, right? Let's start from the beginning. Now, they said here that the investor invested a total of $23,000 into those two bonds. So I have my two variables here, right? X was the amount invested in one, Y was the amount invested in the other, and we know in the first sentence that the total was $23,000 invested. So, I can make a formula, right? I can make an equation. Let's say equation 1. We know that if we add up together the sum, right, of the amount invested in the one account plus the amount invested in the other account would have to equal how much? Yeah, you got it, 23,000. So that was our first equation. That one was pretty easy. 50% done. We got to get the other equation, though. Two variables, two equations. So here comes equation number 2. Let's see. Well, I keep reading on. And now they're talking about this interest stuff. But when we're dealing with math, we don't like to write our formulas out in percentages. We always use the fractions. Percentages are just easier for us to view, to know what's going on. But when you're doing math, fractions are king. So basically, you have to turn your percentage into a fraction, which is a decimal. So we're going to take our 4%, and maybe what I'm going to do is, let's just nip this right now. We have to denote which one is the simple interest one and which one is the 2% and which one is the 4%. Maybe because they said the 4% one first, that's going to be linked with this one. So this one is the this one is the amount invested in one account that's creating the 4% interest. So maybe, hold on, let's just move this a little bit. So two variables, two formulas, it's the same exact thing. Got to make it pretty because Christina is doing the video. If you've been with me for a little bit of time, you know that colors are king and everything has to be pretty. Okay. The other one is 2% interest. I'm going to denote that as the Y guy. So this is the annual amount, or the amount invested in the other account, and this one is getting the 2% interest. Okay. Now, let's turn those percentages into decimals, or you could do fractions, but fractions are decimals. They're basically all the same. So we're going to take the 4%. And how do you turn 4% into a decimal? Well, you just divide by 100. Or, because a percentage is based out of 100%, or you can move the decimal 2 places to the left. So this would be the same thing as 0.04. And do the same thing for the 2%. 2%, we're going to divide by 100, or move the decimal over to the left twice, and then that would be 0.02. Now, just to put things into perspective, right? Let's say that you invested $100, right, into an account, into a bond, and it's paying 4% interest. That means that you're going to get a 4% return on your money, right? So if I take my $100 and I times it by that decimal percentage, 0.04, I'm going to get $4. 100 times 0.04 is $4, which means that you invested 100 and you just made $4 because you just put the money in the account, right? You didn't have to do anything to make this money. Well, you did have to do something. You had to put it in the account. But other than that, you made an additional $4. So now your total is $104. And the same thing with the 2% interest. If you times this by the 0.02, that means that you got $2 extra. So your total in that account now is $102. But notice here, if you want to find out how much you're actually making, we have to take our invested amount and times it by those rates, the 2% or the 4% in their decimal form. Now we know that they said that the total, right, from both of these interests, the investor earned $710 annual interest from the combination of this. So let's put them together. We know that we're going to take the 0.04, the 4% invested one, and multiply it by how much we invested, right? Well, we don't know how much that is, so we're just going to say that's X. And if we add that with the 0.021, the 2% simple interest, with all the combination of how much that was invested, Y, this is going to equal an additional $710. You could put the 0 here if you want to, but you don't have to. Maybe I'll just put the 710. But that is your two equations. Now, we have two variables, two equations. This is systems of equations. We have to get rid of one of the variables. Now, there's a couple of different methods: substitution, elimination, addition. to work through systems of equations, but the easiest one to spot out is substitution. Always go for substitution if you see that you have a formula that has just a 1x or a 1y, in which the first equation we do. Because this is really easy to just make your equation into x equals or y equals. Because you could always just get, you could always bring the other variable onto the other side. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my first equation, and maybe since x is here first, I'm going to try to get my equation into x equals. So let's get rid of the y value. So minus y on both sides. And let's put a little line there. And now, we'll drop this down. That's a little bit too much, okay. And maybe we'll just bring this up, just so that we don't, there we go. So now we have x equals 23,000 minus the y value. Beautiful. Now, since we know what x actually equals, in equation 2, here's an x value. But I don't want two variables. I want to get rid of the x. But that's okay, because I know now what the x is. The x is 23,000 minus y. So we're going to use the substitution method, where you're literally substituting in one piece of the puzzle for the other guy. So that's the substitution method. So we're going to rewrite this second equation, but instead of saying x, we're going to put in 23,000 minus y. So I'll put it over here, 0.04 times, now here comes the other part, 23,000 minus y. And now you're just keep rolling with equation 2, plus 0.02 times y equals 710. And now you have a beautiful equation that only has y values. So now use your PEMDAS and solve. Seems like we just got to do a little bit of distributing here. So 0.04 times 23,000. We get $920. So 920 minus 0.04y plus 0.02y, and that equals 710. Let's combine like terms. So now we got 920 minus 0.2y, because negative 0.04 plus 0.02 is a negative 0.02, and this is going to equal 710. Let's subtract the 920 on both sides. We're getting down to it. And am I going to have room? I might not have any room. So what I'll do is maybe we will just move it on to this side. So we have negative 0.02 times the y value equals whatever this is, right? 220? No, 210, negative. I believe that's correct. You can, always use Calci. Did I get it right? 210? Yay! Okay, then all we're going to do is divide on both sides by negative 0.02. And that goes bye-bye. And y equals, now that's going to be the amount invested in the 2% interest account. So what is this? For 42,000? Let's see. Divided by 0.02. Way off. Oh, yes. I don't know why. I was like timesing it by 4. This is 10,000 and $500. I should have divided it by negative 0.2, but just know that this is a positive value, right? So if we just do this again, and we just do the negative value, there you go. Ooh, hold on. You're getting a little crazy here. Let's just do this from the beginning. So this, just to have it on the Calci, this divided by negative 0.02. There you go. Okay. So we got our Y value. We know that there's $10,500 in the account that has the 2% interest. Now, let's find out how much was in the other account that had the 4%. Well, we have an equation already that has x equals. So you could always go back into your equations that you have to solve for the other variable. But we know that x equals 23,000 minus y, right? So the y value was 10,500. So if we just subtract, we will get the answer. 23,000 minus this. Ooh. There we go. 12,500. And there are your two amounts. So you got $12,500 this investor invested in the 4% interest. And you got 10,500 invested in the 2% interest. And it makes sense, as far as investing, to put a little bit more into a higher return, because more with higher returns, you'll get more money back. Lower with little returns, if you had the option, put more in, a higher return value to get higher back. And that's the end. I hope this helped. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for viewing the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to help us out. I really love helping you guys. I really love doing these problems with you guys. I hope this helps. My brother and I, we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. The channel wouldn't be here without you guys, and we're so glad that, this channel is helping you do your homework, study for quizzes and tests. So good luck on all of that, no matter whether it's math, foreign language, social studies, history, any science, right? Good luck. And I'm always rooting for you, and have an awesome day.
Also, I would like to give a huge shout out to Maricela. Thank you so much for being a member to the channel. Your support means a lot to my brother and me, and we're thrilled to have you be a part of this amazing community. Memberships are open on the channel, and if you want to become a member, just click that join button, which can be found below on any video if you're watching on your desktop, or it can be found on the overall channel page too. For all of you that want your name shown in the video, don't forget to choose the gold tier or higher. Thank you so much for considering, and have a great day. Talk to you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.